I'm going to show you how to achieve zero recoil. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how to build a perfect weapon for any scenario. This is going to be a fundamental video for the future of not only Modern Warfare 3, but all of Warzone, because the Gunsmith is lying to you. And we covered, this is kind of a part 2 to something on the main channel where we covered the things that are not true, blatantly lying to you in the Gunsmith. In this video, we're going to cover the things that are truly accurate, and they're going to change the way your game plays and your gun shoots, but there's also some things that are hidden, and it's drastically affecting the way your gun feels and the way your gun shoots. And we're going to cover all of that today. Now, remember, this is the second channel, the IceManIsaac Academy. So if you are enjoying the guides, the gameplay, make sure to subscribe here, because more than likely you're subscribed to the main, but not subscribed here. But without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to cover real quick the things that are explicitly mentioned by the gun builder that are going to help you out. So we're going to go in, we're going to look at this gun right here, we're going to open up the Gunsmith, and we're going to take it into the firing range, and we're just going to take our shots, just like you saw from the thumbnail, okay? We're mag dumping this thing. I threw a 60 round mag in, and wow, that is a lot of horizontal recoil. Okay, now as we move over, I'm going to show you real quick how to build to mitigate that. So what we've done here is we've gone into the Gunsmith, and as you select an attachment, you can click either left trigger, or you can come over here and you can click show detail. Once you've done that, it's pulled up this beautiful page. It's a wealth of knowledge that we've never had before, but not all of it is true. Not all of it is displayed either. Okay, we are going to build this gun to get rid of all of that horizontal recoil that takes it to the side. So what do? We basically have our eyes locked on this right here. We look at minus 27%, and then we just scroll. Oh, minus 28%, and we just scroll. We'll keep that in mind. We'll say minus 28%. Cool. We'll scroll. We'll keep moving. I'm not seeing anything. Oh, minus 27%. Oh, that's what we already had down here with the Komodo Heavy. Then we need to compare and contrast the top dogs. So we had the Komodo Heavy at 27%. Well, let's compare it now to the Wrathguard Compensator. That Wrathguard Compensator, minus 10% damage range, minus 8% bullet velocity, and it adds some horizontal, or it adds some vertical for only 1% more. For me, that's not worth it, because the Komodo also gets rid of gun kick, which is all that shake that's happening. It also gets rid of some vertical recoil. Yeah, I mean, 11% ADS, that's not bad, but yeah, I'll take it, right? Because I really want to get rid of that gun kick. So then you do that for every single attachment. You click on the attachment, you pull up the advanced stats, and you start to solve the problem that you have. Now, you might get to a point where you end up shooting that gun, and it's like, oh, well, the recoil is fine now, but now it feels too sluggish. And you start to work your way through and find the balance. And oftentimes, you'll find situations where, you know, you might have a rear grip that helps with the recoil control a lot, but it torches your ADS, like this one, minus 21%. Well, then you can just kind of like swap back and forth, and the Brew and Heavy Support Grip is one of my favorites in the game. It only hurts it by 7%, but it helps out your recoil control a lot. So what I've done here is I've built this gun basically for only horizontal recoil control to show you the difference between what we started with right there to now what we have right here. And I'm not going to control the recoil at all, and we'll see. You know, it's gonna move a little bit, but that is significantly easier to control. You'll see kind of the halfway mark is right about here as we work our way up this glass. The halfway mark on this glass is right about here, and you'll see this has already made it way past the halfway mark. This one doesn't even get close to it, and you have to think that's like 5 meters away. If you were to push that all the way across the map, it's going to be moving like crazy. Now, these are some of the explicitly mentioned things, right? We have the same example right here, but it gets a little bit more cosmic and in a good way. Okay, so check this out. So here we're trying to solve the problem for ADS. We'll say this is their ideal gun. It's their Warzone gun, whatever it may be. They want it suppressed, so they stay off the minimap. They want a scope, so they have good sight. They want at least 40 round mag for damage per mag, and then the rest, they just want, you know, they want a barrel for more damage range and bullet velocity, but then the rest is just recoil. When you go in, you could throw on something like this shelf grip, which is going to help out with recoil control, but it's going to torch your ADS. Even on the suppressor side, you look at the suppressor, you're like, well, it's a suppressor, right? But it hurts your damage range and torches your ADS. That is one of the critical things about this, is you need to look at how much those percentages are actually affecting your gun build. Key moment here, okay? Even though it says 27%, that doesn't mean a lot necessarily. In this case, it does, because it is 27% of 475 milliseconds. But let's say you have a really low sprintifier. Maybe you're trying to build an SMG, and that SMG has a base sprintifier of 80 milliseconds. If you threw on 25% of 80 milliseconds, That's going to be like 20 milliseconds. You're not going to feel that. But if you throw on 25% of 475, oh yeah, I bet you're going to feel that. So let's replace this suppressor with something that makes a little bit more sense. As we scroll through, let's look for something. Ooh, that doesn't affect my ADS, but it also doesn't help my recoil, and it hurts my damage range by 12%. Okay, this hurts my ADS. This hurts my ADS. Ooh, that doesn't hurt my ADS. And it helps out with damage range and bullet velocity. Hurts my recoil a little bit, but it's an MCW. It's shooting straight already. Sprint to fire, that's more important for an SMG. So we throw on that, and you start to do that, and you go from a build that, let's say, originally may have been ideal for a certain player, throwing on that suppressor of the Harbinger. You bring that into the game. Ugh. Look at that ADS. It shoots straight, but we can sacrifice some things, and we can have a gun that meets all of those expectations, those same expectations. It has a sight. It has a suppressor. It has a long barrel. It has the 40-round mag, and it also controls recoil with what I believe to be one of the better attachments, which is the angled grip, because the angled grip controls horizontal recoil, but look, it doesn't sacrifice ADS. If we go to our crutch attachments over of MW2 with an FTAC Ripper, it helps by 4%, but it hurts our ADS by 12%. So work your way through this advanced stats page and find golden nuggets like this of 5% and 12%, but not hurting your ADS. And then you'll see we get to a point where now we have a super clean sight, a super clean gun, a very snappy gun. And if you look at the numbers, it is 240 millisecond ADS as opposed to that one, which was 470, but it gets even more important. Notice how in this game, thank goodness, there is no penalty for throwing on a 1x sight. However, the moment you start to get into hollow sights and 2x sights, you'll start to see you get penalized 8% or more depending on the optic that you have. So go with 1x optics. Don't go beyond it unless you want to sacrifice that ADS penalty. But let's start talking about the hidden stuff now. You can kind of work through, you can figure out those attachments, and you're going back and forth between, okay, this attachment does great. Let's compare it. It's the best underbarrel. It is the best underbarrel. Now let's compare it to the best rear grip. And now let's compare it to the best stock. And that's how you can find the perfect zero recoil, best bullet velocity. That is how you build a weapon. A lot of people have been asking me how I build my weapons, and that's how I pick and choose. I make a build, I shoot it, I see what my problem is, and then I adjust my build for it. But this weapon builder does not show everything. So we get here into this build, and there's something that this weapon builder doesn't show us, and that is aim walking steadiness. And there's also another one I'm going to show you here in a moment. I'll be like, Isaac, what's aim walking steadiness? Well, best way to show you is look at my crosshair. Okay, as you're walking around, that gun is shaking, and then you start to shoot it, and then it just starts going all over the place, and you're not going to see anything for aim walking steadiness anywhere in this page. So I've seen people building guns, and they get glued on this page and only this page. I've watched some other YouTubers that have had pretty crap builds, and they're forgetting something, and it's over here. You'll see there is a minus red arrow for aim walking steadiness. There's a minus arrow for aim walking steadiness. There's a minus arrow for aim walking steadiness. And especially when we get over here into the rear, oh, it just starts to go all over the place, okay? And so what we need to do is, as we're making these builds, we need to be able to not only see if the recoil pattern is good, but start to look at these key features like aim walking steadiness. And what I think is more important is, keep in mind, this is kind of a similar build, right? It still has a no stock. It still has a lot of the same features. It's not like you're gonna have terrible aim walking steadiness just because you have a no stock, because check this out. Still a no stock, okay? But now, my crosshair doesn't feel like I'm going over speed bumps 50 miles an hour. I can now shoot, even though it is no stock, I can shoot this gun straight and center straight because I have built the gun for aim walking steadiness. So do not neglect that. And probably most importantly, do not neglect this one. Super important. Everyone forgot about it back in MW2, and I'm still seeing people make the same mistake. Let's say we're aiming at someone all the way down the map. Take a look at what's happening. Do you see how much my iron sight is drifting? It's now like 4 feet to the left. Oh, now it's at his knees. Okay, now it's at his arm. Okay, we'll get even closer. Okay, whoop, and now it's all the way off the side of his body. Whoop, all the way off the other side of his body. It is aiming idle stability. And it's something that is not mentioned in the build like sheet. As you go into here and you look and you go through your attachments, there is no aiming idle stability anywhere in this. As you build your gun, you need to make sure you are also checking for something like aiming idle stability. So we can throw on things like the FSS OLEV laser. You don't see anything here, but look, aiming stability. Aiming stability, aiming stability. Okay, and you can start to make the exact same decisions that we were making with other guns where, 3x. aiming stability, because keep in mind, this is kind of like a bullpup. The best one for aiming stability is usually going to be found in the underbarrel category. Typically, those foregrips, as you would expect with an actual rifle, will cause you to have that thing locked into your shoulder, and it's not going to be swaying around. But if you don't have that, you might find that gun floating. So now let's compare the exact same build, the exact same gun rather, with a build for aiming idle stability that still feels just as snappy as the other one. But now look at that laser. And notice how it is just sitting on the center of his chest. Like, I looked away and I was confident. Like, it's not moving. Beforehand, it was off the right side of his body, off the left side of his body. And when we're just sitting here in a firing range, not a big deal. When we're cross map, trying to hit someone off a rooftop, that's when you really start to see the difference of something like aiming idle stability. So here's a really good example to bring this all home and to really cement your perfect build, okay? So I trust you. Get into that firing range, get that gun in your hand, and feel it. Make adjustments based off how the gun feels in your hands, because if you have good recoil control, you maybe can make the gun more aggressive. But don't just do it here. And don't just do, oh wow, this is good ADS. Oh, this is good recoil control. Get in there, move around, hit some slide cancels, okay? We got a movement guide coming. You want to make sure that gun can work for you in the type of situation, like an SMG, like you need it to. That brings in something like Sprintifire. And here's like the example I mentioned earlier, percentages don't matter unless the base number is large enough to be affected. So if we get in here and we say Rival 9, I'm like, oh man, this is an SMG. This is an SMG. It needs to have good Sprintifire, okay? I'm going to throw on a stockless mod. Look at that. Wow. Sprintifire, 2 green arrows. That has to be good. Well, not necessarily. Hey, this has a base Sprintifire of 93 milliseconds. That's like a pistol. And then we throw on a stockless and you'll see, okay, it goes from 93 to 79. We are sacrificing 40% recoil, 40% horizontal, 40% gun kick, or 14 milliseconds of Sprintifire. Are you going to feel that? 14 milliseconds of Sprintifire? It's not worth it. But let's go the other way. Let's compare it to the AMR9. This is also an SMG, so we would expect, oh, it's probably got really good Sprintifire too, right? 294 milliseconds sprint to fire for an SMG. This gun is worthless. And so even if you were to go through and find something like, that reduces it by 10%. That 10%, or here, the buffer tube, 14%. That 14% takes it from 240 to 205. It took off 35 milliseconds as opposed to the same attachment, no stock, on a different gun, which also has the same plus 40% recoil considerations, but instead of only taking off 14 milliseconds, it took off 35. So that's what I'm saying. Make sure you're not just chasing the green numbers, but you're actually looking at what those numbers are chasing, because a lot of times some of this stuff doesn't matter. I'll take a minus 50% hit on my tactical stance spread, but I've never used tactical stance in my life. So make sure it matters. And I really hope this video helped you to build a better gun. If you're curious, if you don't want to do all the work, and you just want to be like, Isaac, give me the meta. I'm over this. I'm bored of this. Just please, just give me the meta. Subscribe to my third channel, okay? That'll be linked in the pinned comment and the description. That's where I give you my builds that I have gone through this probably 30-minute long process for every single gun to build the perfect weapon for you. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to follow that third channel. If you haven't seen the first channel's video about what is bad, what is literally lying to you, there are numbers in here that are just straight up BS. Make sure to check out my first channel, because that's going to be just as essential as this one. But I hope this one helped. Drop a like on it if it did, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.